If I wanted to make $1 million in GCI as a realtor, I would do exactly what I'm about to lay out in this video. And after helping dozens of realtors make over $1 million per year, I have boiled this down to one simple, repeatable process. You see, most realtors rely on cold calling, door knocking, open houses, all kinds of things in order to get business. But the problem is that this is limited by the amount of volume that you can actually do, which is why in this video, I'm gonna give you the full strategy on how to grow without prospecting. We're gonna go over marketing, conversion, and long-term follow-up, which will allow you to grow your real estate business past $1 million per year. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in.
At the end of the day, the number one thing that's actually going to get us to $1 million a year in GCI is going to be data. So this is obviously we need the conversion, we need the marketing, we need the long-term follow-up. We need to know how we're actually going to convert these deals. But if we don't know exactly how many deals we need to be converting based on our market, and we're going to run into problems, and we're, essentially shooting for a goal with like no means or way to even get there in the first place. So I put together this calculator here for us to kind of break down some numbers to give us some ideas as far as what our time is actually going to look like in, getting through an entire year making $1 million in GCI. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and plug in a bunch of conversion rates in here to figure out exactly how this is going to happen. So our annual GCI goal is obviously going to be $1 million. Also, if there's a lot of background noise right here, I'm recording this video separate from the time that I recorded the intro that you just saw. I'm actually sitting in an airport right now, so hopefully the audio isn't too bad in here. But anyways, we'll go ahead and get through this as quickly as we possibly can, just so you can get as much value as possible. We're going to go ahead and plug in our annual GCI goal right in here. So we're going to go ahead and grab $1 million just like that. Then we're going to plug in your average local home price. And this is where, this is going to start to look a little bit different for everybody. I'm actually going to link a resource down below in the description so you can get this calculator for yourself. We give it away for free inside of our free course. That's another video that I'll link down below. Right here, we're going to go ahead and plug in our average local home price. So I'm just going to go with the national average, which is around $400,000 for the entire US. So we're going to plug that in right there. Standard agent is taking 3% commission, which is going to be about $12,000 per deal in gross commission income. Now, what that tells us is that over the course of an entire year, we are going to need 83 transactions. That could be more, than you're expecting. It could also be less than you're expecting based on your market. Obviously, if you're selling more expensive homes, you're not going to need to close nearly as many deals. And if you're selling, much cheaper homes, then you're going to need to close a lot more deals than that. When it comes to closing rate, this is also something that's going to differ from agent to agent. Now, I talk to realtors every single day, and I hear people tell me all the time, oh, my closing rate is 100%. As long as I get in the door, I'm going to close the deal. Now, when you're growing your business at scale, when you're working with hundreds and hundreds of clients, those clients are likely, when you're fabricating, $1 million a year, when you're building this with intention, and it's not just organically coming to you through your sphere of influence or referrals or anything like that, you're going to have to work with strangers. You are absolutely going to need to work with strangers in order to hit a goal like this, unless you have a sphere that, you already have in place that sends you this much business. But most agents aren't doing 83 deals a year, just off of their sphere of influences. You have to put, manual inputs through marketing, through lead generation, through cold calling, different means of actually getting these clients. But the point is, you're not going to be working with your best friend or your mom or anyone who obviously knows you, likes you, is going to go with you no matter what at the end of the day. So we want to put a little bit more of a conservative closing rate in here. I put 25%. Most agents probably close more than that. We work with tons of agents who will close at 50% all the time, and these are complete strangers. They never met them before. They came in through a funnel, marketing funnel, get a listing appointment or a buyer's consultation set on the calendar, meet with them. Half the time they're getting a buyer broker signed or a listing agreement signed. But for the sake of this data, to be as conservative as possible to make sure that we actually hit our goals, we're going to throw 25% in here. Now, what that tells us is that over the course of an entire year, we're going to need to go on 333 appointments, approximately. Now, that's a lot of appointments. It's probably more than most agents go on, in 3 years. A lot of agents don't actually pay attention to how many inputs they need in order to get what the goal that they're trying to get. They just say, oh yeah, I want to make $500,000 in GCI. I want to make $1 million in GCI, which means I need to sell, this many houses. But what does it require in order to sell that many houses? Well, in this case, at a 25% conversion rate, it's 333 deals. Now, on top of that, there's another conversion rate that we have have to account for, and that's the lead to appointment rate. Now, with our strategy, we leverage inside sales agents in order to convert leads for you, because obviously you can see here the number of leads that we're going to need, and we're considering a lead somebody who has intent to buy or sell, obviously in this, calendar year. So we're going to need 3,333 leads, based on a lead to appointment rate of 10%. That's kind of around the sweet spot where we see it typically will range between 5 and 15%. So 5 to 15% of leads generated. So typically what we see when it comes to lead to appointment rate is typically between 5 and 15%. So I put 10% as kind of a sweet spot in here. How many leads are you actually able to get an appointment set with them? Because a lot of times, you know how online leads go, any leads in general, a lot of times they're kind of wishy-washy, they're changing their minds, things like that, or they were never even that interested in the first place. That's going to happen regardless. And that's why we go for volume. That's why we're generating so many inbound leads. But obviously you don't want to be doing all of this follow-up and all the prospecting yourself, sorting through all of these leads, making all those phone calls, because that's not the highest leverage thing in the business that you could possibly be doing. This is going to be the highest leverage thing that you're going to be doing. It's attending these appointments, because no one is going to have a better conversion rate. No one's going to have a better closing rate than the CEO, and that's you. And so right here, we want to generate well over 3,000 leads in order to generate these 83 transactions here. And we've broken this down on a monthly, a weekly, and a quarterly basis as well to make these numbers a little bit more tangible, so you can figure out exactly what your inputs need to be in order to make this happen. Now, to take this an even step, one step further, actually, is we're going to go ahead and pick a marketing platform to generate these leads off of. So our team typically will work off of Facebook and Instagram. That's the platform where we've seen the biggest ROI when you use a full-time inside sales team for conversion. So because we use ISAs, the agents aren't calling their leads on their own. They're not, putting in the 6, 7, 8 hours a day of making phone calls to these thousands and thousands of leads that are being generated. They're just focused on the appointments. They're just focused on the conversion and the sales aspect of it. And so over here, when we're actually converting the leads, we need a platform that's going to pull in a large volume of them. Obviously, there's Google, there's, even TikTok nowadays, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. It doesn't even matter at the end of the day, but Facebook and Instagram is personally the one that we've seen to get the biggest return for our agents. So that's where we're operating. And to give you some context as far as what it's going to cost to generate these leads in the first place, we usually see cost per lead on the buyer side range between $5 and $10. Lately, we've been able to get it even below $5, which is great. And then on the seller side, usually, cost per lead sits between $10 and $15. So all you got to do there is some simple math to figure out how much you're going to actually be investing over the year in order to make $1 million in GCI. So actually, if I just pull up a calculator right there and we take that 3,333 leads, we'll go ahead and grab that number, plug this into the calculator right here, 3333, and we'll just say average of $5 per lead. It tells us that we're going to have to spend $16,665 on marketing, at least on the Facebook and Instagram platform, on Meta platforms, in order to get 3,333 leads. Now, I know that number can be really scary for a lot of realtors, but at the end of the day, we're literally playing a game where we're trying to make $1 million right here. So 16,000 invested in to get $1 million out, really not that bad. And then from there, you're obviously going to need to have an ISA in place. So somebody to call through and sort through all of these leads in order to actually convert them, because you doing all of that follow-up with 3,333 people is going to be pretty much impossible. You're going to be in the office, honestly, 24 hours a day doing follow-up. If the average pickup rate is around 5%, which is typically what we see, that may mean you need to call a lead 20 times before they finally answer the phone. And most agents don't have time to do that, when in reality, if you're going on, 6 appointments a week, which isn't even too much, but 6 appointments a week, 27 appointments a month, your time is going to be you're going to be busy. You're going to be very busy out in the field, actually working with clients. And then you have to work your contracts and everything. On top of this, you're going to be dealing back and forth in negotiations, all kinds of stuff. And so you're really not going to have time to do the follow-up yourself. And that's where this ISA component becomes so valuable. So another thing that I wanted to show you here is kind of what our ISA process looks like. So when it comes to actually having an ISA on your team for this conversion, you want to be training with them every single day, or just hire someone who's already good enough. As far as how you pay them, you can go about that in a lot of different ways. You can look for ISAs overseas, but it's really hard to find really good ones that don't have super strong accents or anything like that, or language barriers, but that is an option. The other option is looking for agents, maybe in your office, in your brokerage. You can cold call agents for a few hours, try to find newer newer agents that are just getting into the business, that are trying to pick up some skills. All you have to do is teach them how to make the phone calls. You write your scripts and everything, which, by the way, again, all of our scripts that our agents use and our ISAs use are in the free course that we have on this channel, actually. So again, that video is going to be linked in the description below if you want to go and check that out to get all of these free resources that I'm using and that I'm kind of talking about in this video here. But when it comes to actually getting those ISAs paid, you can pay them out of the commission. You can pay them on a per appointment basis. So based on the number of appointments that they're setting, or you can pay them for a dial input. That's always an option as well. Or you can pay them hourly even. So you've got a handful of different options there, but you've got to keep in mind what you're going to actually have to invest into these systems, into the strategy to make $1 million in GCI. So again, just to recap here, we're going to be starting with, kind of reverse engineering our goal, breaking it down based on what the average home price is in our area, how much we're making on those deals, and then figure out exactly how many transactions we need to be working. And the number one key component is going to be how many appointments and leads we actually need in order to, hit that GCI goal based on, our own closing rate, our own conversion rates, and then national averages or, typical data that we see based on different platforms and stuff, like the $5 per lead that I was explaining kind of before. So hopefully this is valuable. Hopefully this can kind of open your eyes a little bit to what it actually requires, what actually goes into hitting a goal that big. Because at the end of the day, the only way that you're actually going to be able to hit it is if you know at the very bottom of the line, like what inputs you actually have to put in order to make this happen. So again, all of these resources are going to be linked in the free course that I'm going to link down below in the description. If you want to check that out, by all means, go for it. If not, no big deal. Hopefully this was valuable. If you have any ideas as far as other videos that you want me to kind of go over, break down some of these processes specifically a little bit more in depth, happy to do so. Just leave a comment down below and let me know what you're looking for.